Welcome, Ricky Watts, Senior Director, Industrial Solutions of Wind River. Well, we had in the last years, or Wind River also started with real-time programming as the foundation of software development in the embedded arena. Then the next step was how to utilize and use multi-core processors. Now the cloud is coming more and more into the embedded systems world. What will developers be facing in the near future?
I think the first thing to say is that these embedded software developers, these areas, they're not going away fast. So that particular discipline is going to maintain itself for over a number of years. And you're right, moving them into the cloud environment I think is very important. I think as we start to go forward, you're going to see this merging between what was in the traditional embedded world and what was in the cloud. So, and there are specific areas of the code, safety, security, performance. You know, these attributes will remain for the software developers to look at. So how are they going to take that transition into a cloud environment? And actually, in my view, you know, we talk about cloud in many respects. We talk about the edge, we talk about the cloud. Yeah. So, you know, if you're a developer, you're looking for an asset or a development environment that can move between those environments very easily, but maintaining the core attributes of what was required in the embedded world. You know, as I always say, you can't go backwards. You know, you must do what you did before, equally or better. And that's really where we're going now. So it's not forgetting what you've done and making sure that as you transition in those environments, the software developers have got to take those attributes. They can't just go to cloud and just say, I forget the past. That does not work.
Okay, so in the past, safety was really the holy grail for each and every embedded software programmer. Now, with the cloud comes more and more the question about the security, and that's a totally new field of working. How can this be done, or has there be any experts buy-in into the company, or other tools? Or?
Yeah, a good question. I think from a Wind River perspective, we've done a lot of work around security, and it comes from our DNA as a business. So we maintain security alongside safety is very important in terms of the way that we do software development and the software environments that we create. I would say one of the other areas that we need to be looking at, security is a moving target. You know, what we think is secure today might not necessarily be secure tomorrow. Embedded is moving to a cloud, as we just mentioned. So you're opening up connectivity through IoT. What also we're doing inside Wind River is really, when you start to get to these new environments, it's also about detection. You know, how fast can you detect what's going on in software? So we're implementing technologies to, hey, if things are changing from a security perspective, we want to be able to identify that very quickly and isolate it. And that's really a big focus for the company, which is how rapidly can we identify? You go back to real-time OS. I want to be able to identify in real time these threats from a security perspective and isolate them from the system as soon as possible. And I think that's very important in terms of the work that we're doing around security that aligns with our safety heritage.
Okay. Well, in the general IT, it's the use of high-level abstraction tools is very common. Sure, the goal is to be independent from the hardware. Is that also possible for embedded systems?
I believe so. You know, there are certain aspects of embedded that will remain the same. We talk about safety systems. I think those are not areas that are going to transition very quickly, although I think that there's a progress path towards that. But, you know, when you start to abstract from an embedded perspective, once you get to the software asset and that extraction and how that abstraction is done, I think that's coming. Now, where we put that abstraction layer, do we put it into a very high performance environment that sits on the edge? I think, you know, that abstraction is coming, definitely. And we're following that path. I believe that parts of the system will remain that in a legacy embedded world, but software abstraction is definitely what I'm seeing. I mean, I'm seeing it in so many use cases at the moment, whether it's PLCs, whether it's SCADA systems, the typical components that we would see in a traditional world attached to the device, they're being now separated off right at the device level, and it becomes a software asset that we can manage and move around very much to appropriate it to the type of compute that we got. You talk about hardware, so embedded hardware is normally very purposely built, but moving that software asset into a more common platform to use very high power compute opens up all sorts of possibilities. It can run the asset, run the device, but now it can do other things on top of that. And that's very useful for companies using those devices and the software developers themselves to open that architecture out. Gives them new avenues to explore.
Yeah. Okay, so there are lots of challenges we just talked about for the software developers. How can Wind River help?
Well, Wind River's got the right heritage, I think, from an OT perspective in terms of what we've been doing. We're establishing a portfolio of products now around what we would call the OT edge, built from that embedded base, okay? We're connecting that tissue, we're bringing these things together. So what is Wind River doing to help? If a software developer is developing an asset in an embedded environment, we're trying to make sure that asset, once he's done it, can be transferred into our new systems. So with as minimal interruption to the application as possible. You should be able to take that application and move it into our environment and then manage it within our environment. We take care of all of the infrastructure issues, we take care of all of the majority of the security issues and the safety issues. So what we're trying to do is, with things around our titanium control and our fluid compute capability, is bring those assets into an environment to assist the software developers and the end customers as well. So it's really putting an infrastructure in place that enables the software developers to not worry about all of the attributes that they need the platforms to do. That's where Wind River is. That's what we're going to be doing in 2018, and we're looking forward to bringing those products out later this year as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure.